What's going on, guys? Naz here on the Spooling Up channel. Today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having a look at my alternator. Basically, when I fitted the alternator to the car, I looked for any plugs or anything to plug into it to get it all wired up, and there was absolutely nothing in the engine bay. I thought I was missing part of the main wiring harness, but it actually turns out that the wires for the alternator are sort of separate. So there's a piece of wiring loom that just goes from the alternator to the starter motor and plugs into a wire which goes to the battery light for the clocks. So actually it's not part of the main wiring harness, it's separate. I was able to buy that separately. I now have it. What I'm going to be doing today is fitting that and making sure that my battery's getting charged. So give me a second, I'll go and grab the piece and I'll show it to you guys now. Right guys, so here's the piece of loom that I've bought. This is just a 3-pin connector plug. This goes into the alternator. Two of the large wires from here go to this hoop connector here, and the smaller one is this blue wire which plugs into the main wiring harness, which takes this wire up to the clocks, and obviously that will let you know if your battery voltage is running low and stuff like that. So yeah, gonna go ahead and start getting this ready to plug it in, and then yeah, see if it starts charging the battery. Right, so here's the piece of loom that I was talking about. This end plugs into the alternator. It's just a 3-pin connector plug. The two red wires from this plug go up to this hoop connector, which then in turn connects to the starter. And then this little blue wire, which is the tiny little connector on the end of the plug here, just plugs into the main wiring harness, which goes up to the clocks and then tells you if your battery voltage is low. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in now, connect the battery up, run the car and see if the alternator is charging my battery. Fingers crossed it does, and I think this is probably one of the last pieces of the puzzle that I need to make sure that the car stays running. Right, so down here at the alternator you can see the 3 pins which that plug that I was showing you will connect to just down here. So I'll go ahead now and connect it up there, and then obviously you have the clip to keep the plug in place as well, so we'll flick that over and make sure that doesn't move anywhere. Okay, so now that's done, my next job is to hook up the hoop connector to the positive here on the starter motor, and then I'll plug it into the rest of the loom to go up to the dash clocks, get the battery on, and we'll see if it's working. Okay, so I now have everything plugged in and in place down at the alternator end. I now also have the loom linked up there down at the starter motor. Last but not least, I also have the blue wire in place plugged into the main wiring loom here with the bullet connector. So I'm just going to go and connect the battery up and test things up now. Right, so I have just had to remove my alternator, reason being a minute ago, before I started recording that last part of the video there, I actually had 13.9 volts at my battery, so things were charging. However, right now I seem to only be getting just over 12 volts, and that is what the battery voltage is without the car even running. So the alternator's not doing anything at the moment. I don't know whether it's faulty. I've taken it off anyway. I'm just going to try and clean up some of the terminals and just have a good look at it, see if I can put it back on and see if that solves the problem. Not sure whether it's all of a sudden just decided to die on me or whether it's something else. So I'm going to start with this and just go through a little bit of trial and error, see if I can get it charging. If not, then I'll be replacing this. I think they're about £60 to £70 on eBay. Okay, so what I thought I'd do next is turn my attention to this piece of loom. When I bought it, I didn't look at the pictures too closely to notice this obscenity here, which is some kind of repair actually. I've started to cut it off, and yeah, what lies beneath is pretty horrible. So I know that people were making these pieces of loom themselves, because all you need is sort of 3 pieces of wire and a 3-pin connector. But what I'm thinking to do, if I can sort of cut these wires further back down here and put a new hoop connector on, then that should solve all the problems really. So if I can cut them below, the loom's more than long enough. If I can cut them further back here and hook it up to a new connector, because this wire here is actually quite badly damaged, and I don't want to have this on my car, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can repair this myself. But I think that might be the root of my problems now. Right, so I've uncovered a connection here where the 2 parts of the wire that I'm assuming were damaged before, it's just where they're joined up inside here. So I'm going to remove that now and see what I can do about it. Okay, so repair's been done. This is now a decent piece of loom. All I did was trimmed out that bad broken piece of wire, trim the other side down and put it back onto the same connector. So hopefully it's all good now. When we fit it, the alternator charges the battery. Okay, so following what was happening last time I did a video on the car, the alternator that I had wasn't charging the battery at all, so I actually managed to get myself a reconditioned Lucas unit, which is a genuine unit. So I'll be happy to get this on the car and see if it works. As for this one, I think I'm going to keep it, and I might get it reconditioned and keep it as a spare in my shed for now. So I'm going to go ahead. What I'm going to do actually is swap this little capacitor over. I believe it's a capacitor anyway. It's supposed to stop radio frequency interference or something to do with the alternator while it's charging. So what I'm going to do, swap this over, get this on, mount this on the car, and then test and see if it's charging up. Okay, so unfortunately the last alternator that you saw I had to send back because it was actually a right-handed alternator. What I mean by right-handed, for those of you who don't know, it's the side that the adjustment goes on. So the adjustment goes on the left-hand side of this alternator, which is exactly the same as the one that I removed. The last one, it was mounted still here up at the top, but this hole for the adjustment was on this side, so obviously it wouldn't fit the Fiesta. And I know some people told me that I could split the alternator in half and rotate it around. I just didn't want to do it, so they've managed to send me another one, and this time it's the right one obviously. So I'm gonna go ahead and fit this to the car now, so finally I can get the job finished. It's probably delayed me another 4 or 5 days, but it's here at last, and it's again another one that's been reconditioned really nicely. So I'll go ahead now and get this on the car. Okay, so now have the new alternator fitted. Time to start it up. Fingers crossed it all runs smoothly and there are no issues with the running and charging. Right guys, so that just goes to show the way things work sometimes. Was missing a piece of loom for the alternator, bought it, fitted it, the car charged for a couple of seconds, then it just stopped dead. took that loom off, realised it was slightly damaged, repaired it. That showed that it wasn't an issue because I still wasn't getting charged. Bought a new alternator. It came the wrong side. It came with the adjuster on the right hand side rather than on the left. So now that that's sorted and that's fitted to the car, I've got my 14 volts, so I'm really happy with it. As usual, like I always say, it's another thing ticked off the list. Just wait until I get out into my own place now with a garage, and then I can start pouring some money into the car. So fingers crossed that happens soon. But guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.